You never fail to amaze me, little one. You are the one they call Iron Man. I expected more.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Marvel What If Season 2 Episode 4 video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes, and careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. But this was basically meant to be a Season 1 episode. Like, they planned this, they did most of the episode, they recorded all the voiceover dialogue, but for whatever reason, they just did not finish it in time to release it during Season 1, so they just held it and then waited to Season 2 to release it. It's meant to be the episode that leads to that Episode 9 scene of Iron Man and Gamora destroying their universe's version of the Infinity Gauntlet and atomizing their universe's version of the Infinity Stones. So basically, this episode was like the Season 1 missing episode. They played the speedrun version of the Marvel Studios intro that they've been playing in most of the episodes so far, but they played the traditional Marvel Studios fanfare. It's also a speedrun version of that, like super quick. Then the watcher basically does a previously on from Season 1 to explain how this episode connects with Season 1, like, oh, this is all the missing stuff that you didn't see, like how Gamora wound up on that Multiverse Avengers team. They end this Season 1 scene on Supreme Strange because we're actually going to see him again by the end of Season 2. He'll return for their new Multiverse Avengers team that they put together for a new threat. We get a brand new flashback, though, of young Gamora and Thanos because they reference her being the daughter of Thanos many times in this episode. They blend the Gamora scene with the What If intro, kind of like they did during Episode 3 with Happy Hogan Freak, like the purple Happy Hogan Hulk. But just like Episode 3, the rest of this intro is the exact same as all the other What If intros. I've already done a much longer breakdown of all the Easter eggs and references in all these charts. There are many of them, so I'll link that below in the description if you want to learn about all the different references in this particular intro. As you probably guessed, it's not Robert Downey Jr. doing the voice of Iron Man, it's Mick Wingert who plays Iron Man. He also played him during Episode 3, he played him during Season 1 as well.
Can you tell Timmy here that a replica cap shield is nothing but a patriotic frisbee? So much for staying for one drink.
Oh, you're doing the thing, he's doing the thing.
I think the main reason why Robert Downey Jr. didn't come back is also the same reason why Chris Evans didn't come back to do Captain America, just because after Avengers Endgame they wanted a break from Marvel, and when they developed the What If series, it was a little too fresh. There's been all kinds of reports and rumors about them coming back, like Kevin Feige said they're not going to bring the main 616 Iron Man back to life, so if he does come back in the MCU, it's going to be like a multiverse version of the character, basically.
Go through a few semi-lackluster Avengers movies without you. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Here's the scene. There's a moment where the world's fate is at stake, and they realize they need a super genius.
Is this your, and you want a little arc on it too? Because if this is your idea, then you got to show up for it too.
I'll do it. I'll show up. I'll do whatever I have to do.
We all have to do whatever Kevin Feige
I'll hold
says.
the thing. But the way people would freak out if you came back, come on.
Then the Watcher explains how things went differently in this particular universe. Iron Man never wound up making it back through the Chitauri portal at the end of the first Avengers movie. After destroying their fleet with the nuclear warhead, the portal transports him to Sakaar, kind of the same way that Thor winds up getting transported to Sakaar during Thor Ragnarok. And the episode is basically an alternate version of the plot of Thor Ragnarok, but Iron Man instead of Thor. With the time dilation effect that Sakaar experiences, like time moves differently on Sakaar, it's only been about a week or so after the ending of the first Avengers movie when he arrives on planet. So most of Marvel Phase 2 has not happened yet, like the events of Iron Man 3 are still a few months away in the timeline. He's not on Sakaar that long either, and even though he eventually goes to help destroy Thanos with Gamora, they destroy their universe's version of the Infinity Gauntlet, they atomize their Infinity Stones, all that stuff still winds up happening before the events of Iron Man 3 would pick up, so he's not gone from Earth that long. They kind of implied during Season 1, when the Watcher comes to collect Gamora and bring her to the Multiverse Avengers team, that he was going to return Tony Stark to Earth or allow him to return to Earth. So the idea is theoretically a different version of Iron Man 3 could still play out for this Iron Man in his universe, but Avengers Infinity War won't happen in his universe because there is no more Thanos, he's dead, there's no Infinity Gauntlet, no more Infinity Stones that exist in a form that people can actually use, so they're no longer a threat. So whatever the next Avengers movie winds up being in that universe, it won't be Avengers Age of Ultron either because Ultron was created from the Mind Stone, and they can't really use the Mind Stone anymore, so they can't create Ultron. So it's like a completely different direction that those Avengers movies take in that universe. So you can let me know in the comments who you want to be the next big villain of that universe's version of the Avengers movies. It'd probably wind up being the Celestials, because they actually explained during the Eternals movie that Thanos, by snapping half the universe away, delayed the emergence, so Tiamat didn't emerge for another 5 years, so that would have just happened much sooner in the timeline. So you have to imagine all of the Avengers battling this giant Celestial that's trying to break out of the Earth. Then Iron Man literally crashes into the Grandmaster, giving the episode its name. Iron Man makes a joke about God. Even though technically Tony Stark is meant to be an atheist, he understands the concept of actual gods existing in the Marvel Universe, like Thor is an actual god. But he rationalizes them as more advanced aliens, like, oh, you're a celestial being with a lot of power that just thinks of yourself as a god. Most of the other characters came back to voice their characters with a few exceptions, like Jeff Goldblum came back to do his character, Topaz came back from Thor Ragnarok to voice her character. All of the Grandmaster's troops here, and a lot of the design language on Sakaar, like the buildings, the energy designs, are all based on Jack Kirby celestial designs, mixed with some Maori Aboriginal New Zealander designs.
No, this is hell. I've gone to hell.
Oh, tisk.
When he references going to hell, hell is actually just another dimension inside the MCU. We actually saw it during Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness as he and America Chavez briefly travel through it when they're on their trip across the multiverse. Within the MCU, within the Marvel Universe, Mephisto rules that dimension. He's supposed to be played by Sacha Baron Cohen during the Ironheart series. I don't know where else we'll see the character. Maybe if they wind up doing a Triumph and Torment story with Doctor Doom in Doctor Strange. They make a ton of references to TV shows and movies during this, like Iron Man makes a Lost in Space TV show reference after this. The Grandmaster reveals that he's become famous since the events of the Avengers movie when he defeated the Chitauri and calls him Metal Mojo Man, like everybody across the universe knows about what he did. He's been called Tin Man before, but the Rocket Man is an Elton John reference. They make a Wizard of Oz reference, which the Grandmaster pays off at the end of the episode when he gets hit with the melting stick, going full Wicked Witch, making a reference to that movie, revealing that he's actually seen the movie. That's how he knows to make the reference.
I'm melting. Hey, I like it.
Oh, what a world, what a world.
When he says he's only 21 years old, obviously that's a lie, but he's an elder of the universe, one of the oldest living humanoids in the universe, literally. He's not as old as the Celestials, but he's way older than most other humanoids. They explained right now he's using the Contest of Champions for these crazy battle races, which are based on the races in Alita Battle Angel with the hot-rodded Mad Max-looking cars where everybody's trying to win, but killing other contestants is totally legal. Tessa Thompson came back to do the voice of Valkyrie. She'd been here for a long time when Thor eventually shows up during the events of Thor Ragnarok. And part of the idea here is that the Grandmaster just changes the type of competition that they have in the Contest of Champions periodically. In the races, just what they're doing at the moment. Eventually, they would have gone back to regular gladiator combat by the time they got to the events of Thor Ragnarok, had things gone more like they did in the MCU. They remind you that Korg had also been here for a while. Taika Waititi comes back to voice his character.
Thank you for indulging me, guys. I've always wanted to walk very slowly.
Grandmaster sings a version of It's My Party and I'll Cry If I Want To, implying that he also knows more about Earth culture just in general. He makes a lot of Earth-based culture references, so he's probably visited Earth at some point in its history. During the episode, they play a lot of music from Thor Ragnarok. Iron Man makes a bunch of Formula 1 and NASCAR racing references, which is a bit of a callback to Iron Man 2 because he raced in that Formula 1 car. When the crowd starts throwing tin cans at Valkyrie, he says they used to throw rotten food instead. That's a bit of a callback to actual gladiator combat in ancient Greece at the Colosseum. People used to throw stuff at the gladiators sometimes. They start throwing chinchillas, which they treat kind of like tribbles in the episode, like they're all over the place on Sakaar. They reveal his current champion is a cross between an elephant and a massive lion, like it's just a giant creature. He's got a couple of them too, but Korg calls this one Snuffy, so apparently it's special. They introduce Gamora, who winds up showing up inadvertently saving Iron Man so that she can bring him back to Thanos alive because Thanos wants to be the one to kill him. The whole idea is that she winds up on planet because she'd been tracking Iron Man across the universe after he destroyed the Chitauri fleet. And things basically play out the way they did during Thor Ragnarok, with the Grandmaster using the control chips to subdue them. They make a joke about Iron Man and Gamora hooking up and Korg watching, total pervert. And as you could probably tell, it was not Zoe Saldana doing the voice of Gamora, it was Cynthia McWilliams. I'm not sure why she didn't come back to do her voice. I'm assuming Zoe Saldana was just busy doing the Avatar movies because they're filming those back to back. She makes a reference to Thanos balancing the universe, perfectly balanced as all things should be, a bunch of Daughter of Thanos references. He makes a reference to the island of Dr. Moreau and the Hunger Games, so apparently the Hunger Games are now canon to the MCU as well. Then the reason he's still using that bracelet to form his armor is because this is happening before Iron Man 3, and that's when he started developing his armors that did not require the special bracelet anymore, and eventually he'll develop his nano armor, but he's still a long ways off from that. We get a brief shot of the outside of the Grandmaster's tower and all the statues of the previous winners of the Contest of Champions. They're the same ones from Thor Ragnarok. It's Man-Thing, Beta Ray Bill, Ares, Bybeast, and Darkcrawler. We actually saw Man-Thing during Werewolf by Night, and even though Korg implies that all the previous champions in the Contest of Champions basically just get killed by the Grandmaster, like if anybody wins, he'll just eventually kill them. Because Man-Thing was still alive on Earth after the events of Thor Ragnarok in the MCU, that implies that like Beta Ray Bill in this universe is still potentially alive, for instance, or Beta Ray Bill is still alive in the main 616 universe. Everybody wondering when they're going to finally do him in the Marvel movies. They'll probably do him eventually. They actually did a version of the Beta Ray Bill character in Thor Ragnarok, but they got far along enough and Kevin Feige was like, you know what, we'll just save him for a future movie, so they got rid of all the Beta Ray Bill stuff that they'd already done. Beta Ray Bill was also a big character in the Contest of Champions during Planet Hulk, which is a completely different story, but a lot of Thor Ragnarok was based on the plot of Planet Hulk. That was why they initially included that Easter egg here. Iron Man learns how Thanos was connected to the Chitauri invasion from Gamora and calls her Xena Warrior Princess. Then to prove that he's a good person, he decides to take down the Grandmaster before they stop Thanos. When Korg says paper is his nemesis, it's meant to be a rock, paper, scissors joke like the one he made during Thor Ragnarok when he met Thor for the first time.
I'm made of rocks, as you can see, but don't let that intimidate you. You don't need to be afraid unless you're made of scissors. Just a little rock, paper, scissors joke for you.
They also paid that joke off during Thor Love and Thunder when they saw the god of the Cronins, the Ninny of the Nani, who sits on a throne of scissors. Tony says, I am Iron Man again. Korg references Tony's mother, who's dead in this universe because in this reality, Winter Soldier still killed his parents, but he doesn't know it was Bucky yet. We literally just saw an episode where there was like an alternate version of that storyline and his father wound up surviving. They get Valkyrie's help. He makes a Death Race movie reference. In that movie, they have a similar trope with the Contest of Champions in these cars with a bunch of weapons. They make a Demon in a Bottle reference, which is a seminal Iron Man comic book story about his alcoholism. Even though he's drinking in this episode, that did seem like a weird moment. Like, why would he still be drinking? Valkyrie also claims that that's the name of an actual type of booze here. Like, Demon in a Bottle is an actual booze that you can drink. When Gamora melts everyone with the stick and calls out the burnt yarrow root, that's a joke that they made in Thor Ragnarok. There's another version of an Iron Man montage of him making the Trash Buster suit, and they use the same montage music from the first Iron Man movie, and they even mirror some of the very specific shots, like him banging with the hammer in his shot on the goggles. They reveal that both Valkyrie and the Grandmaster know all about Thanos, and the Grandmaster is afraid of him. Iron Man makes a reference to Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, which is a play, and when they start their final battle race, the Grandmaster's car is designed to look like his ship was in Thor Ragnarok, like a similar paint scheme. They make Iron Man drive an actual chariot, paying off the reference to the chariots from earlier in the episode, and he makes a reference to his father, Howard Stark, and Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, confessing to his daddy issues and trying to bond with Gamora over their bad dads. He starts to win her over during the course of the race, and when he talks about the friend that he lost, he's talking about Coulson during the events of the Avengers movie. R.I.P. Coulson, even though he totally came back. Tahiti, it's a wonderful place. There are a couple more Easter eggs during their actual race, like when the course exits that giant building that looks like the statue, that's designed kind of like a Jack Kirby style Celestial. Iron Man calls Gamora Lady Grinch because she's green, and his Trash Buster armor forms into a better race car powered by his arc reactor that looks more like an actual Formula One car. I'm pretty sure that Marvel is going to try to sell some of this as merchandise. Like a while ago, they started selling the actual Trash Buster armor, but I don't know if they'll start selling the cars as toys too. They defeat the Grandmaster with Valkyrie's help, paying off the Wizard of Oz reference when he gets melted, making the Wicked Witch reference. Iron Man makes Valkyrie King of Sakaar, a reference to her being King of Asgard in the MCU. Korg becomes her advisor, and then Iron Man and Gamora team up to kill Thanos by melting him, R.I.P. Josh Brolin came back to voice the character, even though it was a very brief scene of him talking. Then after this is when they would have atomized the Infinity Stones, creating the Infinity Crusher device to atomize them, and gone back to the dwarves' homeworld to melt their version of the Infinity Gauntlet. Then we basically get that tag scene that we saw of them in Season 1, Episode 9. After that, the idea, I think, is that Iron Man would have gone back to Earth around the time Iron Man 3 would have been picking up, but the plot of that would have gone down very differently. And like I said, no more Infinity War, no Endgame. there'd be no Ultron, so it'd be a completely different plot. But I think, like my earlier idea, they'd probably wind up fighting the Eternals or the Celestials at some point. That would be like the next big threat they'd actually have to face. The only downside to this too is because they don't have Ultron means that Vision does not get created, or if he does get created, it's like a completely different circumstance. And Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver don't get experimented on the same way. You have to imagine, like, because there is no Age of Ultron, everything that led up to that movie is completely different. But then we get our surprise post-credit scene. It's the second post-credit scene they've done this season, so maybe we'll get more post-credit scenes. And it's Topaz collecting the puddle version of the Grandmaster, revealing that he's so powerful, he's still alive. He's just like a sentient puddle now. Like, put me in a bucket. There are a bunch of Easter eggs and references in the episode, so if you spotted any that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. My episode 5 video will post tomorrow. That'll be the Captain Carter Winter Soldier episode in her universe, paying off that season 1 post-credit scene. Click here for that video. I'll update the link as soon as I post that, and click here for all my other What If episodes. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.